Hello, friend. Piano Man Steve here. Thanks for tuning in. We're just going to do another one of these song masterclass videos. Today we're going to be looking at the beautiful Everybody Hurts by R.E.M. One of those songs that feels so sad it feels good. So before we get started here, I just want to ask very humbly, if you enjoy this kind of content, I would sure appreciate it if you'd give the video a like and subscribe to the channel and leave comments. And most important, if this is something that's of value to you, I sure would appreciate it if you'd share it and talk about it with other people you might know interested in this kind of content. It would sure help me get the word around and impact as many people as possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to break this thing down. I'm going to show you how to use my approach to play it, because at the Piano Man approach, we do not use sheet music. No. We use chords and we plug them into rhythm patterns, and we use simple chord-based improv. It gets you where you want to go faster and with more fun along the way. So we're going to use my song learning formula, my magic 5-step song learning formula. So step one with this one is always you have to get the chords. We call it the glide formula, all right? It's spells out G-L-I-D-E. Well, it's get the chords and then listen to the song, which you can do on all different kinds of formats. YouTube's a good one, but you can probably do it on Spotify or Amazon Music or Apple Music. You name it. Music is pretty well available these days. So you listen to the song and then you identify the feel. And we have 4 essential rhythm patterns that we use at the Piano Man approach to kind of figure out, approximately where we're going to be. And in this case, if you were to listen to the song, what you would notice is it feels like 6/8 or 12/8. So let me just give you a reason why. You feel something like this. So if you count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, which can very easily become 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And if you want to feel it like in 4 instead of 2, it can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it really doesn't matter whether you want to think of it like 12/8 or 6/8. I know that there are people that might listen to this who apparently know a lot about music and would argue with that. And yes, there are minor technical differences between 6/8 and 12/8, just like there are between 2/4 and 4/4 meters. But the real fact of the matter is they're functionally the same. It does not matter. What matters is that you have some way of organizing it in your mind so that when you're counting, you don't get lost. And that is all that we want to do here. It helps us set a tempo, and it helps us kind of keep on track. I tend to think of most things in 4 as opposed to 2, so I'll probably be counting it in 12/8. Now, what does it mean to be in 12/8 versus, say, 4/4? Well, here's what the real key is. If you listen to this, we're splitting each count, each quarter note count, if you were, the 1, 2, 3, 4. We're splitting it into triplets instead of what they call duplets. So if it were 4/4, it'd be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. But it's not. It's 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet. Okay? And that's why it becomes 12/8, because it's split into threes, groups of 3 rather than groups of 2. Okay? And that's going to play an important role in what we do with our left hand as we develop a rhythm pattern. So since it is going to be felt like either 2/4 or 4/4, except 6/8 or 12/8, then we have to find a rhythm pattern that works for something like that. So our first one our first essential feel we call the basic feel. So what I like to do is when I identify the feel is I like to just take the basic chords, which we've found, which you can do, by the way, on a lot of different apps, but I have actually put them in unless YouTube tells me I can't do it anymore, I have actually put the lyrics and the chords down in the video description there. So that's one place that you can look, but you can find this on all different kinds of apps, Ultimate Guitar Tabs, lots and lots of different apps that have sheet music. Just look up this song and look for the guitar chords. But so what I like to do is to take those basic chords and I try to plug them into these essential feels and see which one feels right. So the first one, we just play quarter notes in the left hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're in the key of D. The opening chords are just D and then G and then back to D. Okay. So 2, 3, 4. And then we come down. For lack of a better thing to do with our right hand, we come down on beats 2 and beats 4 with our right hand on the chord. When your day is long, if you feel like letting go. I'm on verse 2 there, but so that's what you do. You just kind of said, does that feel right? It kind of works, but it's a little choppy, right? It's not smooth. So that's probably not what we're looking for. So the next one that we move on to, let's check the country feel. Probably not going to be that, but let's see. The country feel is where you play the 1 of the chord, so that's a D, and you alternate between that and the 5 of the chord in the left hand, which is an A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you play a chord in between, so it's like chuck, like this. Now we can tell this is not going to be right? When the day is long and the night is yours alone. Yeah, I mean, that might be an interesting thing to do with it sometime if you want to rearrange it, turn it into a hoedown, and that's fine. But what we're going to work on today is making it sound kind of as much like what R.E.M did with it as possible. So that doesn't seem quite right? So the next one that we're going to look at, we call the heartbeat feel. And the heartbeat feel is where we put a little syncopation into the left hand. Now, since we're in triplets, it's going to affect it. So if we were in 4/4, it would be like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. Can you hear it? Boom, 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 like a heartbeat. Okay? What changes when you are in this sort of triplet feel is we go to, if we're splitting it into 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, it's that third triplet eighth note that we put the syncopation in. So it becomes 1, 2, da 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 da. So can you feel that? It's still a heartbeat. Da 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 da. Okay? So, and then on top, we're just going to play on beats 1, 2, 3, and 4. And let's see how that feels. When the day is long and the night is yours alone. When you're sure you've had this life. Hang on. Don't let yourself go. Okay. Now, there are things we're going to do to tweak it and mold it and make it sound a little more like what they were doing, but can you feel how that is a good rhythmic foundation underneath this? It's not so choppy as just straight quarter notes. And it's not so hokey as the country feel. So this when the day is long and the night is yours alone. Okay, so that's probably where we want to be, and then we want to tweak our right hand to really, really make that rhythm pattern into what we want it to be for the song. So we've found our feel. The next thing we do is in the glide formula. Get the chords, listen to the song, identify the feel, then we drill it down. So what we want to do is we want to get the chords under our hands without any frills or anything, just in that rhythm pattern, because you don't want your brain having to work to guess where you're going next, right? You want your brain to be thinking about expression. You want it to be thinking about inversions of chords. You want it to be thinking about a lot of other things, but you don't want to be thinking too hard about, I'm on a D chord, where is the G chord again? So you want to get those under your fingers quick and just get a few reps in. So we're going to just do this. D chord, G chord. The words come in. When the day is long and the night is yours alone. When you're sure you've had enough. Now, what's nice about this, and by the way, I apologize for my falsetto voice. It's just, it isn't very good, but the song is too high for me to sing it any other way. So what's nice about this is that if you're at kind of a more beginner level, right, this may not be the ultimate way to play it, but can you hear how this is not a terrible rendering of the song, just to be doing this? And that's what's great about this method, is that you can very quickly learn your major and minor chords, and you can very quickly learn that rhythm pattern. And then even if you do not have a lot of momentum behind your piano career yet, you can be playing a good, credible version of this right away while you build more skills and while you acquire more improv skills and more ways to manipulate and mold the rhythm pattern into the song. So for some people watching, this may be all the farther you go for right now. This may literally be how you play it, is just this simple rhythm pattern. Okay? For those of you who are a little more advanced, the final step is that we enhance it with simple chord-based improv. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to listen a little closer to the song and say, what's going on? Well, if you were to hear it, if you were to listen to it, you'd be hearing a lot of arpeggios. And that's where you take a chord and you play the individual notes of it. Rather than in a block together, in a rhythm, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this D chord, and I'm going to spread it out to a full octave. Now, it does not matter what inversion of the chord you use. You could do it with the 3, which is F sharp on top and on bottom. You could do it with the tonic or the root on top, which is D. Or you can do it with the 5, which is A, on top and bottom. And then a G chord, we're going to do the same thing. And I'm just going to go here because it's handy to where my hand already was. G, B, D, and G, like so. And I'm just going to play from the bottom of the chord up to the top and then back down. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet. Okay? And when you put that over the top of the left hand, you get this. Hear how suddenly this really sounds a lot like the song, because the guitar is playing that arpeggio and the bass and the other things underneath it are providing a little bit of syncopation, a little bit of rhythm. And if you want, in your left hand, you don't have to play that syncopation all the time. In fact, maybe what you want to do is at different times of the song, you want to create greater intensity and a slightly bigger sound, and other times you want to make a smaller sound, a more low-key sound. And so you can use the syncopation in the left hand as a tool, the absence of it or the presence of it. And so there's different things you can do. One thing would be to just play a long held note like this. Sure you've had enough of this life. Hang on. Okay, so then the chord changes. It goes from G to a D chord over an F sharp bass, which is just D here and F sharp here. And then we move into the chorus, which now has an E minor chord. Okay, so what makes up an E minor chord? E, G, and B, right? So now we're just going to play an E minor chord the same way we've been doing everything else. We're going to arpeggiate it. And I was here already for a G chord. So this is kind of the simple place for my hand to stay. G, B, E, G, like so. Don't let yourself go. And then it goes to an A chord. 'Cause everybody cries, and everybody hurts sometimes. And then back to your D chord. Okay. So that now becomes the basis that you can do the entire song from. So just like we said before, for the real beginner, they may just play this the whole way through. For a slightly more intermediate player, you might feel comfortable doing that arpeggio thing, and you're just going to do this through the whole song. That's great. That's a new layer of nuance. Now we're going to look at things that a slightly more advanced player might be able to do to spice it up a little bit and to create a broader dynamic range for different parts of the song. So let's get into verse 2 here for a second. Let's assume that the advanced player might have done what the intermediate player did, at least through the first verse and chorus. Now, maybe in verse 2, we want to add a little extra pace and a little extra intensity. So maybe what we do is, instead of just the long-held notes, we play the long-held notes with the left hand, but we add the syncopation note with just the thumb. So see how we're holding a note with the pinky and with the thumb just throwing that little bit of pace in there. When your day is night alone, if you feel like letting go. Did I say I was an advanced player? If you think you've had too much of this life, well, hang on. And then maybe to add a little intensity going into that second chorus. See, we not just increase how hard we're hitting the keys, although maybe we use a little more intensity there as well. But now our hands are a little more spread out, okay? You can create a bigger sound by creating more space between your hands. So we're playing in this octave instead of this octave, right? A little fatter bottom end. And now maybe, because we want to add a little extra intensity, instead of doing the syncopation note only with the thumb, we're going to do it with both the thumb and the pinky. So, 'cause everybody hurts. Take comfort in your friends. So this is another little thing I'm doing with my right hand. This is not necessary, but it's something you can do to add a little extra punch. So instead of just doing the arpeggio alone, watch, I'm going. So I'm playing the note from my index finger with my pinky on my way back down. It just puts a little accent there, right? And it thickens the chord just a little bit. Just thickens it up, makes the sound a little bigger because there's an extra note in there, right? And so that extra note harmonizes with what's going on down here. And so you have a broader range of notes and frequencies coming through in the mix. So it makes the sound bigger. 'Cause everybody hurts. Bad singing, but sorry. Take comfort in your friends. There you go. 'Cause everybody hurts. Now, we get to the bridge and it changes to a really strange key signature, right? It goes to an F sharp major chord. F sharp, A sharp, C sharp, F sharp, right? Now, this is where it really gets, this is, in my view, like the most intense part of the entire song. So we really want to ramp up intensity and power as much as we can. So obviously you can do what we've been doing, which is play the arpeggio, throw a little accent there by playing that extra note and back down. But you can also move to a full chord and just play the triplets. Okay, so can you see how by moving to that, we create a much bigger sound, right? And the idea behind it is that the overall feel of the song hasn't changed at all, but the way we're expressing that feel changes just a little bit as we move through the song, and it creates this whole, like, beautiful emotional arc to follow it along. And, oh, you know, like I say, it's not necessary to do these things, but when you get the tools in your toolbox to do it, oh, the music so comes alive. It's just, oh, it's breathtaking. And it's like I have goosebumps right now, actually. Not that you needed to know that, but any of you that watch my videos know that I'm a bit of an oversharer, and that's probably not going to change. So if you can't stand that about me, you really should watch somebody else's tutorials. Okay, so, moves to a B minor, and then I think it works really well with an F sharp 7, so that's what I put down in the video description. You don't have to play an F sharp 7, but I think it thickens the chord up and adds a little longing to it. Can you hear that? Like this chord sounds great. This chord, by throwing that 7 in there, there's a yearning in that chord. Don't throw your hand. Oh no. Don't throw your hand. And then it moves to a C chord. Oh, what an amazing jump. Like, what a cool place to go with that. It goes to a G chord from there. Now, for me, I'm most likely going to take that C chord and I'm going to add the 9. What's the 9? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The 9 and the 2 are the same thing, but if you write it as C9, it's implying that you have to play the dominant 7 below it. We don't want that. But if you say add 9, it means you can just put that there. Right? And can you hear what that does to the song? Feel like you're alone. I'm going to do the same thing on that G major chord. Now, you don't have to do this, but I'm doing it because I love the effect of putting that added 9 in there. There's a softness, there's a kindness to that. And if you think about what they're saying, what are the lyrics saying? It's saying, please don't give up on yourself. I believe in you. I love you. You're not alone, right? You're having a tough time, but you're not alone. And so the kindness, the empathy of that chord versus just the major chord, oh, so powerful. So I like to throw that in there. So we're on the C. Feel like you're alone. No, 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 you're not alone. Then it goes to an A minor chord, which is so beautiful. And I might make that an A minor 7 if it were me. We were on a C chord. What's a C chord? C, E, G, right? Move to an A minor, and you just play a C chord on top of it. You get an A minor 7, and hear the difference. Here's an A minor by itself. Here's an A minor 7. Or let's put the 7 below down here. Oh. See, it's thick. It's more emotionally sophisticated. Now, again, I don't want you to feel like you have to make every choice I'm making here. I'm just trying to expose you to some of the choices that you might make. When you're playing in a group, sometimes it's important to simplify because you have a lot of different parts playing at the same time and you don't want to muddy up the works. But when it's just you and the piano, sometimes it's so helpful to add a little extra something to the chord like that. To think about what you might want to add to a chord because it helps you express what's going on, and that chord has an emotional empathy and sophistication to it that this just doesn't. Right? There's a little bit of dissonance or whatever, and this line, these lyrics, and what's being expressed in the song is very emotionally sophisticated. It's understanding that somebody's having such a difficult time, and you are trying to let them know that it will pass. It will pass, and I'm here for you. And so that's just kind of those are the things that I think about as I'm analyzing a song. So let's just get back to the beginning of the bridge here. We were coming out of that second chorus where he says, "Take comfort in your friends. Everybody hurts." Then we go and we change it to this. "Don't throw your hand. Don't throw your hand. If you feel like you're alone. No, 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 you're not alone." Okay, and I'm going to throw one other thing that you might consider doing that you can intersperse with just playing the triplets like this. You might also consider playing chord. So see, this is an octave chord. I call it an octave chord because I'm playing an octave. Doesn't have to be the root note. I just happen to be, in this case, on root F sharps with my thumb and pinky, right? So I'm playing the chord and then arpeggiating up. So you don't have to pick one or the other, but it's something that you can do because they both have a very impactful, very intense feeling to it. So don't throw your hand. Don't throw your hand. Feel like you're alone. No, 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 you're not alone. And then the song totally resets, and there's a massive drop in intensity for the dynamics. And now you can go right back to, if you feel like you're on your own. Wait. If you're on your own in this life. I got the lyrics wrong. right back to that of this life. Hang on. But now the intensity ramps back up for that final chorus. And so you can use this G, D over F sharp, and then choose something with more intensity. It could be if you want, or it could be well, everybody hurts. Everybody cries. Everybody hurts sometimes. Everybody hurts sometimes. It stays pretty intense, and then there's kind of a fade out, so you kind of have to decide how you want to end. And that's entirely up to you. I would probably just vamp on it for a while. Just basically back and forth between a D chord and at some point maybe I would just hold a nice long note down here and allow things to cool off intensity-wise. Throw in what they call a little retard, where you just slow the tempo down a little bit. Do a broken, what we call a broken attack, only a little faster, or maybe even create a little more space, play it an octave higher. So the idea here is to know ways to create intensity, know ways to create bigger and smaller sounds that are good at keeping that same rhythmic feel, right? You want that rhythm structure, that dum, 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 dum. You never want to lose that thread. You want that to feel very consistent all the way through. But then you have all these different ways to create big dynamic shifts. Right? You have ways for it to be big. You have ways for it to be small. You have ways for it to be intense, ways for it to be low key. And you can decide where you want those inside the song. And so that's what the Piano Man approach is really all about, guys. The Piano Man approach is not about showing you exactly how to play a song. It's about showing you tools that you can use in all different kinds of songs so that you can reach into the grab bag and make choices in the moment. Now, you might work it out in your head and play it mostly the same way every time, but you still got to make the choices. You got to be the conductor. You got to be the arranger. And you can change it anytime you want. And so for me, you know, I've got so many tools in the bag at this point in time that I mostly make choices in the moment. I never play anything exactly the same way twice. But the essence is so much the same every time that most people don't really notice that I'm playing it differently every time. But for me, it's always a fresh experience. That may not always be what's right for every player. Some of them might want to kind of, like I say, make a plan and stick to that plan most of the time. But over the course of time, as you get more comfortable with, when you really know your chords, when you really are comfortable with all your major and minors, you're comfortable with your grace notes, like your sevens and your added nines and that kind of stuff, and your suspensions, then you can make choices in the moment when you have all of these great little improv tricks that you can reach for, and you can modify your rhythm pattern. And it is so much fun. The song just comes alive around you, and it just surrounds you like this wonderful vortex of music. And I've been doing this for 35 years, and it still is the biggest thrill in the world for me. Every single time, even when it's a song I've played 100 times, just playing around with the different options and making a new choice that maybe I haven't made in that exact spot before. I don't know. I'm a little bit of a nerd, guys. That kind of thing turns me on. If that kind of thing turns you on, or the idea of it, then you and I might be a really good match for each other. And I hope that you'll check out my free song learning blueprint course. It's down in the description and the links there, and learn more about the Piano Man approach as a whole. And in the meantime, I hope that I've given you something practical that you can use for this song for sure, and hopefully maybe for some other songs that have a similar feel. And I hope that you've had fun, because I've said for a long, long time, if you're not having fun when you're making music, you're doing it wrong, okay? And I mean it. So thank you for tuning in. I'm Piano Man Steve, founder of the Piano Man Approach, and I'll see you on the next one. We'll be back with more of this kind of stuff in the very near future. Take care.